Hey trainers, and welcome to our GoFest finale recap video. This past weekend, we got to participate in the final GoFest event of the summer. And like the first global event, we wanted to do a little post-GoFest wrap-up before we jump into the Season of Light. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Welcome back everyone. So this has been the first time there's been a finale event for the GoFest season. Up to this year, we've always had the GoFest, followed by 3 Ultra Unlock events. But for this summer, we had the Global GoFest celebration, Ultra Unlocks for events throughout the summer, and a special global wrap-up event to tie it all together. So to talk a little bit about my experience, since this was a pretty big Pogo event, Chris decided to come down for the weekend so we could play the event together. Like the first global event, we went to the local college campus, which actually had a lot more stops this time around. Last month we submitted a bunch towards the west side of campus, so it was nice having a few more spawn points. It was also the first weekend since school was back in session, so we saw a lot more people out playing compared to the first GoFest. I also want to mention that we really lucked out weather-wise. The forecast fluctuated between scattered storms and occasional downpours. Then everything cleared up Friday morning, so we were pretty relieved that we didn't have to use umbrellas. Now onto the event itself. The finale mixed elements of the Global GoFest and the 3 in-person events to make a unique conclusion for the GoFest season. The day was divided into 4 blocks, which featured an Ultra Beast and various Pokémon with similar typings. Though at the same time, there were a few extra special editions like the Shaman Scarf Pikachu and the all-new Shiny Muna that was in the final block. So as I'm sure you can imagine, Chris and I ended up playing the whole event. We got to our spot about 10 minutes before it started because we stopped at the store to pick up chocolate chip monster muffins. Also, just before the event kicked off, I caught my landform shaman from the first Global GoFest. I'll admit, I slacked off a bit completing the rocket portion of the special research, so after I did that, I figured I'd save the encounter so it could have that GoFest timestamp. So when it came to the finale, Chris and I were looking for specific shiny Pokémon. In the first block, I was looking for Hitmontop, Sudowoodo, and Karrablast, and Chris was looking for Hitmontop, Kricketot, and Anorith. By the end of the Pheromosa incursion, I'd say we got everything we were looking for, and then some. As for the second block, we met up with some friends that we'd met at previous events, so we had more of a group going. This block specifically had Axew in it, so we spent a majority of the time hunting it. Now I'll admit I was really surprised to see it spawning more frequently than the first event, because at that point, it felt like you were looking for a needle in a haystack. Now prior to the finale, I had already caught 2 Axew, and I only needed 1 more to complete the family. So you can imagine my excitement when it popped on my screen about 45 minutes into the block. After that, I continued to have some pretty insane shiny luck, because 15 minutes later, I ended up with 3 shinies in a row, and one of them was Hitmonlee, which was the other shiny that I really wanted from the Buzzwole block. Speaking of Buzzwole, I did manage to squeeze a couple of raids in before the block ended. Buzzwole is a decent Pokemon for PvP, but it needs to be below 1500 to be relevant. Because we bought a ticket, we were able to get one from the ticket special research, so I figured I'd take my free passes and just put rare candy into it once I had enough. Now the third block was arguably the most exciting of the finale. Not only did it have cool shinies like Combee and Fungus, but Circuitry is considered one of the best electric-type raid attackers in the game. Up to this point, I had only used 1 pass for Pheromosa and 2 for Buzzwole, so the remaining 6 I had were going to be dumped into Circuitry raids. Also, it was at this point that a few more people joined our group. Honestly, it was nice having 6-person lobbies to take it down quicker. Now of the 6 Circuitry we did, I managed to get both a boosted 15-14-14 as well as a regular 15-15-12. So I'd say I did pretty well raid-wise. As for shiny hunting, I was pretty determined to get a shiny female Combee. I probably checked about 60 or so during the block, but I ended up getting one in the last 30 minutes. And the funny thing was, I wasn't even trying to click on it at the time. There was a Fungus by the science building I was trying to click when the Combee popped up. But, I was pretty glad I got it when I did. Now the final hour was when the grind started to lose momentum. While I was hyped to go after Muna and Swirlix, I think the combination of less than ideal spawns and the tiredness from 6 hours before was really starting to take its toll. But after some back and forth discussion, we ultimately pushed on for that shiny floating lemon ball, And let me tell you, we went pretty hard looking for it. We spent over an hour checking for them, but couldn't find any. Then once we got to the big water tower, Chris and I had our fateful encounters with it. And it was pretty crazy because I think we got it on the same one as well. Now after getting that shiny, things got really crazy. It was almost like it was a Muna Calm day, because Chris got not 2, not 3, but 6 Muna. I'm totally not jealous or anything, though he was nice enough to trade me one so I could complete the family, so thanks for that, Chris. As for me, this was the block that I got the least amount of shinies. I ended up getting a Chansey, Ammonite, Chikorita, Muna, and my most hype shiny, a Cookie Dough Swirlix at the very end of the event. Literally, I got it at 5:59, which was less than a minute to the end of the event. So even though it wasn't the shiniest of hours, I did get some really great additions. Now as fun and exciting as this event was, there are a few improvements we'd like to see in the future. In terms of having hour and 2-hour blocks, I think that the hourly structure would not only work better for scheduling, but also improve the overall flow of the event. I know we were looking for a good time to break for lunch, and we found that the Pheromosa habitat was the best time to. Problem was, since it was during the first 2 hours of the event, it was a little too early, but after that we had Buzzwole and Circuitry, which had a lot of Pokemon we wanted to hunt, and it would be too late to eat if we waited till after that. We also ran into a few college students since it was move-in weekend, and one of them told us that they were bummed that they completely missed the first hour because they overslept. And to be honest, that's the issue with having the 2-hour blocks. Like if you miss one, then you're completely out of luck. Another thing about the blocks I wanted to address is that the Nihi Lego block didn't really carry the same weight as the other 3 in terms of spawns. It was full of random Pokemon, including starters and non-shiny variants. I feel like Niantic could have added some additional shiny poison types like Trubbish to even things out. I'm sure a lot of trainers would go after that one specifically. But as an alternative idea, they could have also done a GoFest Greatest Hits since they brought back all the Ultra Beasts in that block. Another feature I'd like to see Niantic look into is resetting field research tasks. As you know, if you complete a research task from a stop, you're unable to collect research from that stop again. But with 4 different blocks and 4 different types of field research tasks from each, it would have been nice to get new research tasks as these blocks switched over. I'm sure it's something they couldn't have implemented in time for this event, but I think it's a pretty exciting idea for future events. As for the special research, I felt that the Team Rocket section felt a little bit unnecessary. It didn't exactly flow with the rest of the research, and in my opinion, it could have been replaced with a raid focus step. Plus, we even got a premium pass from the final step. So I think they could have easily placed that in the middle of the research and had us do a raid instead of battling rocket grunts. As for raids, I felt that the Ultra Beasts and 1-stars provided plenty of mons to battle, but the 3-star raids just felt like filler bosses. I know personally, I wasn't paying too much attention to them since I was catching for the most part, but I know some people who were hardcore raiding for the Ultra Beasts, so these would have been super annoying if they popped up. Like it just felt excessive and they were there to fill spots when this event was all about the Ultra Beasts. Now at the same time, there are a few ways Niantic could have made these bosses more appealing. For one thing, they could have given Salamence its legacy move Outrage or had its shiny available to catch. I also think they could have removed the 3-star Alola starter evolutions entirely. We just had an entire season on them after all. As for Druddigon, I think it was a fine raid boss since we don't see it all that often. And for Snorlax, it would have been nice if it had its cowboy hat costume. That way, trainers would have a chance to get it while also keeping it somewhat exclusive. That's just me though, but be sure to let me know what you think about that down in the comments. Now the last concern with this event I had was with the shop boxes. For one of the biggest events of the year, there really wasn't anything spectacular in terms of value or items given. And this has been an ongoing problem for a while, so it's something that we'll probably address in a full video in the future. Now despite our criticisms, there were a few improvements from the first GoFest that I want to recognize. First and foremost, the glitches with the incense spawn seem to be fixed. If you remember from the first Global Go Fest, there was a huge problem with the incense spawns disappearing when you clicked on them. Additionally, I thought that the Pokemon selection for this event was pretty exciting. I know I said in the Mega video that there wasn't a whole lot of chase Pokemon, but after playing the event, I can say that I certainly misjudged it. It was also nice having a variety of unknown for the finale. While there were a few common repeats, we did have a couple of rare unknown, and even the debut of 2 new shiny forms. Speaking of shinies, it seemed like the shiny rate was definitely increased from the first event. I know they don't want these events to be about catching shinies, but it's definitely a big part of these events for some players. Plus, you gotta admit, it is pretty fun ending an event with a decent amount of shinies. So now our recap brings us to the big question. Did this event feel like a good finale for the GoFest season? In my opinion, I felt that it absolutely succeeded as a finale event. Not only did the finale encompass the GoFest atmosphere, but it also felt like a proper story-wise conclusion for the other 4 GoFest events. And it didn't overshadow the previous events, but still had a lot of high-quality features. So like I said, I think it did the job as a finale event. So trainers, what did you think about the GoFest finale? And how many shinies did you end up catching? Be sure to let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this recap, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing if you're new to the channel. As you know, the Season of Light just kicked off yesterday, so we're excited to see where things go, and you can bet we're going to be covering a lot of content from this season. So until next time, thank you all so much for watching, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.